Well, about the minute that Brad and I got done last night, and I got back on the news channels, we found out that Israel had launched quite the attack on Iran and done a tremendous amount of damage to their command and control, to their top military officers, to their top nuclear scientists, and also to their nuclear installations. And this continued through the night. Brad, you and I were just looking. Iran is now engaging and sending a few missiles back the other way.
Right.
What were you seeing there on the most recent screens?
So earlier today, I saw the damage that Israel did to Iran, a chunk to their nuclear facilities, but also their anti-aircraft or air defense, where Iran has missiles and other installations they use to defend against aircraft and potentially missiles from Israel. Um, but Israel's heading in with a lot of bombs and allegedly took out a number of very high-ranking military officials in the Iranian, I don't know if it's Revolutionary Guard, but very high in the general staff, Air Force, and a number of nuclear scientists. Several of the nuclear sites were hit pretty good, and allegedly there's some nuclear contamination.
Hmm.
Um, so they're measuring some of that. Uh, I don't think it'll be like some kind of nuclear disaster suddenly. Iran was dealing with relatively small amounts of nuclear fuel, but um, it's a thing, and yeah, Iran did t attack back, and initially it was with 100 of their Shahed drones, which are like these propeller things that look like this, and they got a big bomb on the front. Um, Allegedly, Israel shot a lot of those down, if not all of them, but we're seeing barrages of missiles where a number of missiles are landing in Israel. We don't know where. Uh, there's a video of some hitting in the city, so it can be disturbing, but you can see it kind of like a far off type deal. Um, yeah, so it's uh, Israel and Iran are. Um, I don't know if they're at war, but they definitely had another exchange of military attacks. They had an exchange previously. I don't, was it this year or early this year or last year?
About maybe around this time last year. I can't remember exactly, but
Hmm.
that was the time when they had set up the um, some of their Mossad agents who were inside,
Hmm.
and they were able to get some of the top military guys knocked off in that, and then the back and forth started.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this
So it's a bit I think that'll cause some anxiety generally, but the market seemed to shrug it off for most of the day. Um,
the overnights were down around 700 on the Dow, and then
mhm.
it came back, maybe half of that during the day, and then it kind of slowly but surely drifted back down again. But overall, not a big deal so far, and it also seemed to come down a little more here in the last couple of hours as the Israel side of it got a little worse
Yeah.
as we saw things getting through.
If Iran wasn't able to respond, I think the market reaction was going to be pretty muted. But yeah, the Dow is down 2%. Market's not yet quite closed. The S&P's down 1.3%. Um, and the Nasdaq down 1.3.
So, of all the things that are going on right now with the Israel back and forth, one of the most interesting things to me, of course, was the fact that this whole thing started this time with hidden drones. So Israel had secreted drones. They said it was a 2-year plan, and they started shipping drones into Iran,
Hmm.
Tehran, and hiding them in Tehran. And then, so the very first action that took place yesterday afternoon, our time, was that these drones, just like in Kuwait a couple of weeks ago, these drones were released and were able to go in and do a lot of damage
Hmm.
before the jets started coming in. They had 200 jets coming in, but these drones got in and did a lot of damage to their ICBMs and to their command and control even before the jets got there. So
Yeah.
one of my questions I asked this morning on X was, are there already drones hidden in the United States? And if so, could we find them, please? This is going to be the new hot method is hiding
Mm.
drones.
Yeah, what Randy's referring to is in Ukraine, they by truck they smuggled in a bunch of drones that Ukraine used to attack airfields and um, allegedly destroy about a third of Russia's a certain type of bomber that Russia uses.
Specifically to deliver nuclear weapons. Yes.
Yeah, to do that, but it's all they're also used to launch cruise missiles and some other things, so that they were being used to attack Ukraine.
Yeah. So this is quite the method. Now, having to plan for it 2 years in advance is interesting. But I'm afraid that the Ukrainians and the Israelis have now given jihadists all over the world a a suggested method. We
Hmm.
used to. You may or may not know, I started life in the security business, primarily bicycle security, and back in the Gulf the Gulf oil war, where the oil was cut off and people were standing in line and having to only go to the gas station every other day because there was no oil.
In
Um,
the 70s.
back in the 70s. And during that time, bicycles, you couldn't even get one. You couldn't find, everybody was trying to buy a bicycle rather than drive their car. And so
Hmm.
bicycle security became a very big deal. Well, then, of course, thievery had to, up it one, you have to, the thieves have to get better if you're going to up the hardware,
Hmm.
trying to thwart them. The problem was is that the newspapers would say, "Well, this is the bolt cutter that are using now." Like what? Please don't help the thieves by
Yeah.
putting pictures of bolt cutters on the front page of the Times.
Hmm.
Anyway, so I'm same thing here. Great, they've got these two victories, but now they've alerted the rest of the world to a methodology for the use of drone warfare that's pretty darn effective.
Yeah. Some rather big news in Tesla
Yeah,
today.
very big news. Very big news for Tesla, which Tesla was going against the market today.
Hmm.
Up, where are we at now? We up close to 10, something like that?
Tesla's up $6, about 2%
About 2%.
on
Yeah.
the day.
It had been up as much as 10 and is going in a very nice, strong direction against the market. So talk to me. One of the big deals was the NHTSA announcement.
Yeah, so and I'm reading from Sawyer Merritt. It says the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration, NHTSA, has announced the next step in its new automated vehicle framework, looking at these rules hindering Tesla's Cybercab and others. This is the Trump administration taking steps that make it easier for automakers to deploy self-driving cars without driver controls, such as a steering wheel and pedals. NHTSA anticipates reaching decisions on most exemption requests within months rather than years. Current rules require automakers that want to deploy self-driving cars designed without steering wheel or brake pedals to seek an exemption from federal safety standards that require the human driving controls. The NHTSA will streamline that exemption process, which under current policy has resulted in lengthy processing times that can last years. The agency said in a letter posted to its website today. Um, and they also anticipate publishing the enhanced instructions shortly and will begin implementing the modified approach to evaluating exemption requests immediately.
Nice. And Larry Goldberg says, and if you don't know anything about the federal government, this is warp speed for the federal
Yeah.
government to be operating this quickly. So on the one hand, they're taking away, the federal government's taking away. The bill was passed yesterday, and a lot of conversation about that, and probably why the stock was down yesterday was that we lost, or we're theoretically, California can no longer impose these requirements on automakers, which resulted in Tesla getting all these tax credit, or all these not tax credits, but uh, uh, what do I want to call them? Regulatory credits. And so this was
Yeah.
a fairly substantial amount of money, helping Tesla to be profitable even last quarter when they wouldn't have been, were it not for the regulatory credits. So that was the Trump administration taking away, but now they're giving back today, which something I think maybe 10 times more important than those regulatory credits.
Yeah, losing the regulatory credits in the United States would be a blow for sure. I'm a little unclear on all that myself. I'm not an accountant, and I didn't see the law that was passed. I believe most of Tesla's regulatory credits, I could be wrong, come from China and Europe.
I
So
I
I
I
think
know
that's
that
the source of most of them.
I don't know about the most. I do know that there are additional regulatory credits around the world, in addition to California and other states that follow
Mhm.
California's path.
Yeah.
But I don't know the percentages. I have no clue on that, and I didn't ask Rock.
So the federal government has just basically made those regulatory credits illegal or null and void.
Yeah, more or less. And they've eliminated the 2035 requirement for a certain percentage. Well, and there's percentages leading up to 2035. So it's the combination of eliminating those requirements that eliminated any need to trade credits, because you no longer have an immediate requirement that you hit certain criteria,
Okay.
like 20% or 25% or whatever of your
Mm,
cars being BEVs.
right.
So that is where that one is. So that one took away, and then today we get this, which is definitely a positive. We have to. In addition, China said that they have their draft rules for how car data can be queried, retrieved, downloaded, and exported. So this is a big deal because it would be for everybody, not just for the Chinese
Hmm.
makers, but also for Tesla. So they would be able to use their data in China, and uh, download it and export it. Now, whether they could export it to the United States, that might be another issue. It wasn't talked about in the article, but that also seemed to be a positive in today's market with that news coming across.
Yeah. Um, I think Tesla's also waiting for approval in China as far as to be able to push out a new version of the software to more cars.
Right.
So we're waiting on that, but I think getting clarity on the handling of the data would be really good. Um, I hope Tesla isn't singled out though. So
Yeah,
you
yeah.
you can write rules to single out certain companies and make life hard for them. And I hope that's not going to be the case.
And then to add icing to all that cake, there was a study put out by a company. Oh, it didn't put down their darn name this time. I have it close by. Uh, anyway, um, a study came out talking about the difference between Waymo, Uber, and Lyft. And this company takes what Robert Scoble was doing, takes it to another level with actual polling of 500 people who are using Uber, Waymo, and or Lyft.
Mm-hmm.
And they also ask what they paid for the ride, how far the ride
Ooh,
was, et cetera, and
I'm
try
looking forward to discussing this one.
to. So what they found was that the Waymo is charging 40% more
Mm-hmm.
than Lyft and about 33, I think, percent more than Uber
Mm-hmm.
for the same ride.
Right.
And they found out that by huge percentages, people that have taken both way prefer Waymo. They
They're way more satisfied.
way more satisfied with Waymo. And
Mhm.
big reasons was the thing we've been talking about, which is, no driver.
Yeah.
And so this is kind of a sophisticated study by a known entity that does these kind of studies.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think some of the early movement in the stock this morning, getting it from negative into positive territory, might have been that report, because it was very clearly, this is what I've been saying for months. Elon says that they're going to charge market. Okay.
Yeah.
Which market?
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming if he says market, he means they're going to charge what the
The,
market will bear.
the
That
clearing price for
clearing price.
whatever people will pay for the Tesla version.
Exactly. So the Tesla version, let me know if you think I'm crazy here, but I think the Tesla version is going to give an even better experience than the Waymo.
Mm-hmm.
Even though the Waymos are Jaguars, they're ugly. And the Teslas are gorgeous. So even
Mm-hmm.
before we get to cybercabs, the experience, I believe, in the Tesla is going to be a better experience. My wife took her car to be serviced yesterday, or a couple days ago. Yeah, a couple days ago. Needed some service. I don't know if you've done that recently, but it's the most sophisticated service you're ever going to have in your life. You do all the work on your app before you ever get there.
Mm-hmm.
You get there, you put the car in line, you get out of your car, you go in and you talk to a service guy inside who just identifies who you are, make sure you're okay with what's already on your app, and then tells you where your rental is or your,
Mm-hmm.
your loaner is. You go out to the loaner, all your information is already on the loaner.
Right.
You just push home, it drives you home.
Exactly. Yeah. All your settings are on the new car.
All your settings are on that other car.
Mm-hmm.
And this is part of the experience that people are going to be able to have with the Tesla robotaxi, is all their settings will be on those vehicles when they get into them, their music, whatever their settings are, which will be another customer service benefit, theoretically making it a better customer experience. It's going to be so I think. What do you think? What do you think about all that I just said? Do you think Tesla will come in and charge $3 a mile if they can?
I I'm hopeful that they'll charge whatever the market will bear. Um, and let's back up a second though.
Okay, sure, sure.
So some people are viewing it as a negative that Waymo is charging more than Uber or Lyft. And I think there's some context that's helpful. Um, Waymo, their cars are much more expensive. There's rumors that they cost well over 100,000, if not 180,000. So they literally kind of need to charge like $1 more per mile, just in general in comparison to competitors, just to claw that money back.
Right.
Um, and so people are, not knowing that Teslas are much less expensive, people are concerned that Tesla will have to charge a similar amount. Um, but let's say Tesla could charge $3 a mile and people would pay it.
Uh-huh.
Let's just make this assumption. That would be a very good thing. Like then you have a wonderful business. Like if you own the stock, you want them to be able to charge as much as possible per mile for their customers. You know, over time it will come down and they'll saturate markets and it'll come down, but you want Tesla to make as much money in that in between stage from when they first launch.
Mhm.
So when they're in the middle and maybe they're at $2 a mile and $1.50 a mile and then maybe $1.20 and then a dollar. You want them to make as much money as possible in the in between.
Sure.
And like that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But what's wild about Waymo charging more is they've been growing their market share in San Francisco while charging more. And so they're above 25% in San Francisco. I think they just passed Lyft. And so Lyft, their market share has come down. Uber's market share has come down, and Waymo's has come up. I think it's very encouraging, and whatever Tesla can do to make it as seamless as possible, I think would be great. If you, yeah, all the settings, if it recognizes, it knows it's you, it can communicate that to the car. So maybe there's a way, even without pairing your Bluetooth, that I could give like your favorite song list to a Spotify in the car or something like that. That would be a really nice thing if you want to hear some music.
Right.
With no driver in the car, you can play the music as loud as you want.
Right. Yes. Take advantage of that great sound system.
Hmm.
Yeah. And so that's kind of been my hope. So, Kathy Wood says it's going to cost about 25 cents a mile for the robotaxi. That's going to be the cost of a mile, including deadheading and everything else. Elon
To
is
Tesla,
to Tesla, right?
right?
Um, Elon says he thinks it'll eventually get down to 20 cents a mile as a
Hmm.
cost. Um,
That's in the limit. That's way over here.
well, yeah, I
In the
think that's
future.
when you've got when you're producing a lot of cyber cabs and et cetera, et cetera. But whether it's 20, whether it's 25, whether it's 30, whether it's 35, anything in that range is still going to be extremely profitable, even at a dollar. Because when Elon was making his analysis, he said, well, if it's 20 cents a mile it costs, and we can charge 30 cents a mile,
Hmm.
it's still a nice margin. Uh,
Yeah.
and 30 cents a mile, you'd have to do a lot of miles to make it the revenue number be huge. But 30 cents a mile, nobody'd have a car. I mean, I can't imagine anybody that would still be
Yeah.
driving their own vehicle if it was 30 cents a mile.
And and if you believe the studies Uber did, at a dollar a mile, allegedly the demand is 20 times
Yes.
what they're normally charging.
Right, right.
So, you know, th th there's a huge business in this. Like even at a dollar a mile, there's very big business at $2 or more per mile because that's what Uber and Lyft are charging, and apparently Waymo's charging a buck more,
Yeah,
almost.
exactly. Well, then if you go over to China, there was a report today that BYD might be trying to kill off some of the competition. So this kind of predatory price war that they've entered into, dropping their price by 30% on some vehicles. I guess they have a fairly decent vehicle now for $7,000 in China. That at first everybody just thought, well, it's another price war. Business is slow in China, um, and that this might be what they're trying to do. They're just trying to make sure they keep their factories humming. But
Mhm.
now there's speculation because there's so many competitors in China with all these different varieties and versions that maybe BYD is actually being predatory and is trying to get a few of those guys, completely knock them out of business.
Yeah, they had like some big industry meeting where they said you can't sell the cars for below cost. We've kind of been waiting for the number of players in China to get shaken out. Um, being able to make a profit on your product is very important. And I think at one point, I feel like there was like 500 different ones,
Yeah.
different makers of like EVs and hybrids in China. Allegedly, that was how many brands there were at one point.
Yeah.
But still, it's like something like 80. And but like even BYD, they don't have great scale. They have 40 different models to deliver all the cars. 20 of those models are full BEV, the other 20 are hybrid. Um, we believe they're losing money on their BEVs and making money on the hybrids. Um, but like they literally needed 20 models to bypass Tesla and the global sales of full battery electric vehicles,
Right.
where Tesla had essentially four, and then they, just started doing the Cybertruck.
Right. Yeah. So as AJ has pointed out, repeatedly, you basically have um, one company in the world who's making money on EVs.
Hmm.
One company in the world who's got positive cash flow on BEVs, and that's Tesla. And you have all of these other companies that are in the business, but none of them, not as far as we know, not one of them is cash flow positive. So at a certain point, I know I saw one headline today that was saying massive layoffs in Germany of automotive employees
Hmm.
because they're not competing. So are we, do you think we've talked about the shakeout for a long time? I said I thought it'd be 2027 when we begin to see the real shakeout. Do you think the shakeout might come sooner?
In BEVs, it's seeming like it's coming sooner, but it should trickle over to, full ICE vehicles eventually as like the public begins to understand, how much better BEVs are as a product. Um, so I think most of the people watching here understand that, but it's they're just far superior. Like my phone here, how many buttons does my phone have? Well, it's got three on this side,
Right,
and it's got one over
right,
here, and doesn't really need those buttons, but those are pretty handy. It's my volume, my hot button for my camera, and then like an easy like on off or wake button.
right,
And it's the same thing with our cars. Like
right.
really don't need buttons. People still think they want them. And that's just one example um how Teslas are superior in the approach they're taking.
So Brian White and I spoke about this at length the other day, but I'd be curious to get your take. There's been this continuing argument about whether Tesla should finally get into the advertising business in a real way. I mean, really do national ads like on football games and
Hmm.
baseball games and soccer games. Um,
Yeah.
and actually, get the cars, get the information you just mentioned. The information is what people need. People are still very, very, very completely wrong about BEVs, about things like, the how long the batteries will last, how frequently you have to charge them, range anxiety, all these kind of things, safety. They don't know any of this stuff. Um, the option, my option in terms of getting back to word of mouth as selling out the cars is, and maybe this is what's in Elon's mind, is that once we go full unsupervised,
Hmm.
percent unsupervised, that you'll no longer need the advertising. That everybody will be showing their neighbor Everybody was showing their friends at work that you can just sit in the back seat and drive the thing, and that will that'll bump the sales back up there. It'll be the most important uh, uh, improvement in a car, maybe since putting the ignition inside the car instead of a crank. Um, so your thoughts? Should we still advertise? Should we take a shot at this point and put 50 million into advertising or 25 million into advertising and some really, really, cool stuff that I'm sure Elon and his crews could come up with something really, really special? Or do we wait for unsupervised, or what do you think?
Yeah, I think you wait for Robotaxi to start and begin to expand in some serious numbers, bare minimum in Austin. When you go to unsupervised, I think you could do something around that for sure. So maybe they're waiting for that moment.
Mm,
So I would grant you that. And my general idea has been, why doesn't Tesla try spending $500 a car before they cut prices by $5,000 per car?
right.
So like do a one-time gamble and really try a big variety of things and try different things in different markets so you can study what works and what doesn't. So literally you could try something different in Texas than you do in Florida. You could and just test all this stuff. And one thing I think you may have seen, but we got Tesla Vision coming.
Yeah, I keep forgetting to mention that.
So this is the fan video showcase, which apparently there was one in 2017, and Marquez Brownlee won that one.
Oh, oh,
There's a deadline of July for people to submit it. It's 90 seconds, and it's about showing how your Tesla gives you more in life, more freedom, more safety, more fun, more convenience. Um, Technology is one too. I, so I think there's hope maybe they take the winner from that and use it. Maybe they use a bunch of different ones.
well,
Um,
especially with the capability people have now to make an ad. I mean, you can make, I can't, I still can't, but people out there can
mhm.
make, television quality videos now, just using uh, just using their phone. Yeah.
Yeah.
And asking Chat GPT, make it pretty.
Mhm. Yeah.
Is it
Or using like the Veo video creator from
right?
Google. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So are you going to turn one in?
I was tempted to make one like about my mom and getting her a Tesla or loaning her my Tesla and I think it could really help her mobility.
Yeah. Yeah.
She can get confused driving at night. Um, she really doesn't like driving at night anymore. Doesn't really like driving, so she's turning more and more to Uber for getting to or from somewhere. So I think this Tesla could give her more freedom and have her feel safe and it's convenient too.
Well, I can steal your idea, but I'd probably be accused of elder abuse. My mom is 99 plus, so
Uh-huh.
I could put my mom behind the wheel
There you go.
and have her drive the car. But I don't know. That might be over the top. People might challenge my wisdom on doing that.
Does she still have a driver's license?
No, 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 no.
Yeah, you
Not
probably can't do that
probably
one.
can't do that one. Maybe in a parking lot, in a large parking lot. Okay. Well, so
But I think I think there's a thought though. I thought about posting this as like, in a sentence or like in three sentences, how has Tesla changed your life?
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Maybe that's going to be my banger post. So check it out when you see this video, Brad S. Ferguson on X. I will post that now. You can tell me how Tesla, in your words, how Tesla has changed your life.
It gave me my final profession.
That's true.
An unexpected profession at the end of my days.
Mhm.
So,
It's
well,
definitely changed my life in
yeah,
many different ways
yeah,
and helped keep me safe on the roads too.
that too, that too. But in particular, since you're in the land of the roundabouts,
Hmm.
you've become, almost known for testing Teslas in roundabouts.
Hmm.
Not to mention becoming known for some kind of Lathrop experiment that you did. How long ago is that?
Yeah.
Year and a
Well,
half?
now we got to scout out robo-taxis in Austin. We got to
Are you getting down there?
get something going somehow.
CERN's heading down there. Are you heading down there?
Not yet, but I'm starting to percolate some ideas.
Okay, there you go. All right, so let's go back to the beginning. We've got all
Let's
kinds
talk
of.
about Tesla. It is 420 right now, Randy. And I know you don't enjoy 420 in the way some people do, but Tesla is now closed for the day. Trading is closed. It closed at 325 spot 31,
Uh-huh,
a gain of $6.2, $6.20,
uh-huh, uh-huh.
up 1.94%.
Nice, nice. That's a good day, especially when the market was down.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good day.
A very good day. Yes. Well, Scott, we need a lot of those though to get to my number. I put out a note on my early show today because some people were thinking that since the official launch is on the 22nd, well, and it may not be, but roughly the 22nd, that my all-time high number, we should back that up another 2 weeks. So 2 weeks after the official launch.
You're moving the goalposts, Randy.
I said, I'm not going to make that decision. I need people to let me know in the comments whether or not that's fair. All right. So speaking of making projections and predictions, we've got a lot of activity going on right now. We're going into the weekend. What commonly, what do you think in your, because I know you didn't have time to go back and check any of this, but kind of in your imagination, what do you think the war between whatever you want to call it, between Iran and Israel does to markets on Monday morning? Is it going to be a continuing factor, or will it kind of be like, well, that's old news now. Let's go back to earnings.
I'd say if Iran's response stays contained to Israel, um, there's a chance that the market shrugs it off. It is pretty troubling to watch some of the videos. You can see, missiles getting through and hitting city areas, um, and that's hard to watch and like be logical or rational about it.
Yeah.
But also, just watching the missiles also in Iran could get you worked up. Um, Last night there was like three mushroom clouds. Now, it wasn't from wasn't from a nuclear bomb or anything, but the massive bombs hitting Iran as well. So that could shake people up. So there might be some kind of 3-day reaction.
Mhm, mhm.
So typically, when you have these a surprise to the market, it can take 3 days for the market to fully react to it. So maybe we go down Monday and Tuesday off of this. I wouldn't be surprised by that. Uh, Tesla, um, I wonder if we're going to get some more positive news. So, like another su positive surprise you didn't mention today was the Model S and
Oh,
X
that's right.
refreshes are coming out.
Yes.
They're raising the prices on them,
Five
but also,
thousand dollars.
yeah, also giving them improved suspension, improved quiet. So. maybe now the Model X and S will be quieter than the Model 3 and Y, which should be the case if they're, premium.
I- what is quieter than you can't hear anything? Is there a negative number where it becomes so
Yeah, we'll see where they go. There's sometimes on the new Y I can hear the motor,
okay?
the
Yeah,
whine of the motor.
right.
You still
People
might be
like
able to hear that.
yeah,
But like you don't hear the tires.
yeah,
Um, you don't really hear the tires on the Cybertruck either, which is surprising.
surprising.
Yeah, mainly you just hear a little motor whine from time to time. Yeah, so I'm guessing that'll get some people excited, but we're curious to see where the long-term demand is. I wouldn't be surprised by a big spike in SNX sales, maybe over the next couple quarters. I know there were a good chunk of people who were saying they were waiting for a new Model X,
Oh,
and a lower number was waiting for the S. I think the X is more popular.
oh yeah. Mhm. Well, if you want to show off, you want the X. I mean, you want those gull wings.
Yeah. It is it is like an added level of convenience where the door opens for you.
Yeah, yeah, pretty cool. Okay. Well, it'll be an interesting weekend. There was one question
What's your overly specific and likely to be wrong prediction for next week?
I don't have any prediction for next week. I have one prediction. No, I have two predictions.
Mm,
Three, actually. I have three predictions. My prediction for 2 weeks from yesterday, unless I'm given more grace, is all-time high. My prediction for the end of the year is 1,000, and my prediction for the end of next year is 2,000. But
okay.
those are my only three predictions right now. Do you have any predictions?
I just gave mine, so about next week.
That's what.
But the market as a whole may be down Monday and
Oh,
Tuesday. I won't be surprised by that.
no, you wouldn't be surprised by that. No, and it might be. That was not a very solid, strong,
Mhm.
prediction there.
We haven't gotten the affordable model yet.
No,
Uh,
no, we're down to half a
we
month.
we're getting a more affordable Cybertruck soon.
Are we?
The $70,000 one.
Oh, the 70. I thought we had that.
Yeah. So we haven't seen reviews on it, so I don't think there's.
Oh,
Have you seen reviews on it?
I haven't been paying any attention. I just thought it was a thing. I thought it was already done.
Yeah. Maybe YouTube just isn't showing it to me, but I don't think they're out there yet.
Okay, okay.
But I could be wrong.
That's
Hit
right.
us up in the comments.
That's right. If there's some kind of video review,
Yeah, drop a link.
yeah, let us know. All right. Okay. So what I forgot to ask you last night, I got 2 minutes to get this in. Um, is uh, do you think there's a chance that the markets will just kind of hang out in this area until we get to the bank earnings the second week of July?
Well, there's a ton of earnings in the second week of July, not just
Right.
banks. I
Right.
think
But do you think
it's a
it's
pretty
possible?
hot and heavy, like the second week
Right.
of the quarter. And if not that, then the third week.
Right. Big,
Might we just hang out? Maybe.
maybe. All right. Well, with that,
Let's get right to the numbers.
thanks for helping out. We'll see you
Yep.
next week.
Bye.
All right. So we've talked a little bit about the numbers already. We've got Tesla was, as he just pointed out, up 1.94 for the day and down a little bit, down 0.17 in the after hours. We've got the Dow down 1.79, NASDAQ down 1.30%, and the S&P down 1.13%. So now we're back to needing 2+% to get back to the all-time high. And that's kind of what I'm talking about. I have this sense that maybe we'll be hanging out in this range of around 6,000 on the S&P, up and down, but maybe bouncing up against the all-time high, maybe even going over a little, but no real breakout until we start getting some earnings in order to support these numbers, seeing if the earnings start to come in well. We've got the Magnificent Seven all down today. They all went up into the green. Well, not all. I guess Microsoft never made it in the green, but most of them went into the green, but then came back down again as we had more bad news out of the Middle East. Cathie Woods, similarly, CRISPR ended up in the green, as well as 𝐅𝐫𝐢𝐝, probably partially because of Tesla doing so well today. Okay, let's go ahead to bonds, which unfortunately reversed. And let's go ahead and go here. Okay, here we go. So the 10-year was up 5 basis points today, 5.2, back to 4.409. Sadly, oil, of course, went crazy, up 7.89% today to $73.41. Brent is close again, 74.55. Natural gas up 3% also to 3.59, but that's not terrible. That's an okay price. Gold up 50 today to 3,452. Silver up 0.17, sitting at 36.35. And copper down a bit, down 1.59 to $4.76. And Bitcoin down 2,000. That's about, it was actually, I think, worse than that earlier today. So sitting at 105,330. Okay, so later on tonight, Cern Basher will be joining you. Everybody, all my great co-hosts and help are running around the world right now, are unavailable over the weekend. So you're going to be hearing a lot of moi, but I have cooked up some doozies for the weekend. So kind of the normal programming on Saturday afternoon, where I'll talk about the news. On Sunday night, of course, we'll have the Monday morning show. But in between, there'll be 4 other shows, and I have got some stuff cooked up for those 4 shows that you are going to love. Right now, you want to go back and look at Cern Basher and Bradford Ferguson from last night. I'll put both cards up for that. And is there anything else? You could join Patreon. What an idea. Maybe you could join Patreon. Have you thought about that? $3 a month? $5 a month? 10? All right, I know. Those numbers are just not worth it. You're just like, why would I even bother $10 a month? Well, we do have a $50 level. We have 2 members that are at the $50 level. Maybe you'd like to jump in and really provide some support. Help me become even better at what I do on this channel. I'm really working now with the AI and trying to really make things even more exciting. And next week, I might start slipping in that new program, which would be at like 9 o'clock in the morning, California time, where we would give you a technical update, not Randy's technical update, because I don't know what I'm talking about. I would give you maybe 4 or 5 players out there, give their technical updates, maybe even have somebody joining me to participate in giving that technical update. We'll see. I'm still working on it. If you got any ideas, let me know in the comments below. It has been great, as always, talking to you.